That's good, y'all. So let's talk about this new alliance with Seth Rollins, Bronson Reed, and Braun Breaker. This group, this alliance, it makes absolutely no sense, right? You got Seth freaking Rollins, who won the Money in the Bank. He's pretty much positioning himself to, win the World Heavyweight title and pretty much run the company for the next 10 years, right? But the problem with that is Seth Rollins is 40 years old, right? And when you look at Seth Rollins' character, he portrays himself as if he's still 25. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all know that he was in a group called The Shield with Roman Reigns and the other guy, John Moxley, who's in AEW now, right? That was like 10 years ago, right? Roman Reigns was the number one guy, but he wasn't just the number one guy off rip. He worked his way into that position, right? And I think that what Seth Rollins is attempting to do is, I think that this is Seth Rollins' Shield 2.0, right? The only difference is he's the number one guy, right? But like I said, man, Seth Rollins isn't Roman Reigns, he doesn't have the same aura as Roman Reigns. And listen, Seth Rollins is a great wrestler, right? I'm not taking anything away from Seth Rollins. I think Seth Rollins is awesome. Even though he is 40, he doesn't look 40, right? Takes good care of himself. But he's not Roman Reigns, bro. It's just, and I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to force the fans to look at him the same way they looked at Roman Reigns, right? And I'm expecting Seth Rollins, whenever he does cash in that Money in the Bank, I think that he would like to have a 4 or 5 year title reign like Roman Reigns did, right? But you look at Bronson Reed, right? Bronson Reed, prior to joining this group with Seth Rollins, he was in the New Bloodline, right? He was recruited by Solo Sikoa, and he pretty much was working with Solo and Jacob Fatu and Tama Tongaloa, whatever the guy's name was. And, they had the match with the New Bloodline and the Old Bloodline. The New Bloodline lost. And when Bronson Reed jumped off the ropes, he ended up breaking his ankles, right? So you come back after you get surgery on your ankles and you just join this group with Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, and you don't even explain why. There's no backstory. There's no what made Seth Rollins reach out to Braun. Because remember, Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins, they had a feud. They was going at it. They had a match together, right? Seth Rollins ended up winning, but these guys had a match together, bro. These guys didn't like each other. So where is the backstory on that? Where is the backstory on how a guy that was in the New Bloodline, that was going at it with Seth Rollins, now all of a sudden, he's basically, Seth Rollins is his boss. Make that make sense, right? And then you got Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker is a 2-time Intercontinental Champion, right? He lost it to Jey Uso. He got it back a month later. Braun Breaker, he's a beast, right? He has the best spear in wrestling history. Extremely athletic. This guy can run like fucking 20 miles per hour. You feel me? Shout out to Braun Breaker. But Braun Breaker, in my opinion, bro, he has too much potential to be Seth Rollins' lackey, bro. It doesn't even look right, bro. Like, if this guy wanted to, he could absolutely whoop Seth Rollins' ass in real life and in wrestling. Like, let's just be honest, bro. The guy's a tank, right? But this is a guy who should be going after the United States Championship. You could have a match between Jacob Fatu and Braun Breaker, right? This is a guy that should be working on his solo skills, working on his mic skills, learning how to do things other than barking like a fucking idiot. I heard any dogs barking out there? Bro, you should be developing and you should be working on your game. So whenever it's time for you to get another world title, whether it's a major title or whether it's a mid title, you should be able. You should be working on how to be more entertaining, bro. Because you barely speak. You barely talk on the mic, and I think that's for a reason, right? I think Braun Breaker knows that he's not good on the mic. You look at when Braun Breaker was on NXT, whenever he gave his segments on the mic, they were horrible, bro. For a numerous amount of minutes. Number one, Braun Breaker's voice is extremely light. Like, his voice doesn't match how he looks. You know what I'm saying? Number two, he's just not charismatic, bro. He's not charismatic. He's not funny. He's just a very awkward guy when he speaks, right? But when you watch interviews of him outside of wrestling, he's a very chill, laid-back dude, you know? So this is something that I think Bron Breakker should be working on, man. But how do you expect to work on that when you're basically Seth Rollins' sidekick? You know, you're basically Seth Rollins' lackey. Like, Seth Rollins is like the owner, and you're his Rottweiler dog that's on a leash. You understand what I'm saying? So this just doesn't make any sense, man. And this is the problem with wrestling, bro. Things just don't make sense. They don't make sense. You know? Things just happen and we're just supposed to accept it for what it is and not question things. Nah, bro. We should question things that don't make any sense, bro. You know? The right thing that should happen, bro, is whenever Seth Rollins cashes in this Money in the Bank, Roman Reigns should stop him from winning Money in the Bank. That's what should happen. That makes sense, right? That's something that makes sense because of the feud with Roman and Seth, right? That's something that, you know, the fans don't have to question, okay, why is Roman? No, we know why that's happening, right? But we don't know why Bronson Reed's 400-pound fat ass is working with Seth Rollins. The way it looks like Bronson Reed is just hopping from dick to dick. That's what it looks like. It looks like a jobber who's probably never going to be a major world champion. Let's just call it what it is. Probably never going to be a major world champion. It looks like a jobber that's just attaching himself to somebody that is more popular than him to keep his name relevant. You know, you did it with Solo Sikoa. Now you're doing it with Seth Rollins. That's what it looks like to me. You know, it looks like Bron Breakker, you know, because he's not showing growth as a wrestler. It looks like Bron Breakker is just aligning himself with Seth Rollins to make himself appear bigger than what he actually is. When in all actuality, you know, he should be competing for a championship solo on his own terms, you know, cutting segments. Guys, think about this. The only way you're going to get better at something is by working on it. How can you honestly expect to get better at anything if you're not putting in work towards it, right? Like, if you're a basketball player, how can you get better at shooting free throws if you're not shooting free throws? You know, a guy like Ben Simmons, how can you get better at shooting threes if you don't shoot threes at all? That's the problem. Bron Breakker, you don't cut segments at all. The only thing you do is whenever Seth Rollins or Bronson Reed has a match and it looks like they're about to lose, you run out, you spear them, and you bark like a dog. It's the same thing every fucking week. And this is why all of the fans that think Bron Breakker, Bron Breakker's gonna be a major world champion. You know, like, I had people come in my comment section, oh bro, you're just hating on Bron Breakker. No, I'm not hating on Bron Breakker. I give credit when it's due. I already said it in the video. I'll say it again for you Bron Breakker cocksuckers. Bron Breakker has the best spear in wrestling history. But other than that, what does he have to offer? What does he have to offer? What other than that is interesting about Bron Breakker's character? Because he's nothing different from Goldberg. He's nothing different from Ryback, right? His finishing move is something that has been repeated plenty of times. There's nothing special about a spear. It just happens that he's the best at doing it, right? That's what we give credit. He has the best spear. He's the best at doing it, right? He's extremely fast. Okay, but what makes a wrestler a superstar? By being entertaining, bro. That's what makes Randy Orton a superstar, bro. He's entertaining. He's charismatic. He's funny. He can cut promos on the mic. Has a dope theme song. The same thing with CM Punk. The same thing with Seth Rollins. The same thing with Roman Reigns. The same thing with The Rock. You know? Like, there's only a select few wrestlers that can't cut a good segment or promo on the mic that have became superstars. Guys like Brock Lesnar. But that's because Brock Lesnar is a freak of nature. You know, this is a guy that left the WWE, went to the UFC, became a heavyweight champion in the UFC, then came back. And let's give credit when it's due. Brock Lesnar actually worked his way into becoming good on the mic. Brock Lesnar has cut some good promos, right? He's taken the microphone and cut an entertaining promo, right? Because he got better over time. You know? So that's my opinion on this, man. I just think that this group, it just, you know, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm just wondering, how long is this going to continue? Like, how long do we expect Seth Rollins to continue to be in this group with Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed? Is this going to go on for like the next 5 years? You know? Anyway, let me know what you guys think. It's your boy Wavy. I'm out.